Thank you for joining us. Welcome to LumioStation.
What's up, LumioStation? My name is Shino. Let's go back here like about what's poppin' though. Today we are here with PokéTV, and guess what? Today on PokéTV we will be reviewing Pokemon movie 2000. Oh my god, it's been forever since that movie came out. Legit 15 years ago. Pokemon movie 2000 came out 15 years ago. It is 2015. That was 15 years ago, bruh. Like, that movie was hype. Honestly, I don't know why I love that movie so much, but overall, the movie itself is just powerful. But without further ado, go ahead and smash that like button if you guys are excited for today's review. Don't forget to answer the question today. Today's question today is, who is your favorite Pokemon out of the bird trio, meaning Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres? Me personally, I choose Articuno for design. I always like ice types, and I thought Articuno's design was really good. And I seen it in an anime, and it got to show off like his coolness when it was having a blizzard in his ETC. Like, Articuno's really dope. But if I was going from a competitive standpoint, I would choose Zapdos. That's why Zapdos OU, because of usage. But still, Zapdos is dope as hell. But overall, just like off of design, I love Articuno. I just think Articuno is like hella graceful. You know, I just wish they could have made it a little bit better in competitive scene. Then they could have put in more work. But that's usually the case with ice types. They usually like kind of nerf ice types to make them a little bit shitty. I don't know why, but it's just how it is. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. I hope you guys are excited for today's review, because legit is about to be a very intense and powerful one. My god, I was so happy to rewatch this movie. You guys just don't know. I'm super hyped to be here today. If you guys don't know, I do this weekly on Lumios, so you know, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can come in and see like a weekly series where I'm constantly reviewing different animes. But back into the anime, let's get it. Okay, so PokéTV pretty much takes place between the end of like the first movie and then like when Ash goes to the Orange Islands. Basically, when he's traveling around to collect all the badges, you know, they pretty much go into the next place to get a badge throughout the Orange Islands, and they actually find themselves trapped in this random storm. Now, prior to this random storm, you actually see one of the main villains of the story. His name is Lawrence. Lawrence is pretty much a collector. Lawrence III, he collects random Pokemon, or whatever Pokemon he's collecting, that's what he goes for. So his whole ambitions and goals throughout this whole entire movie is to collect Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. That is like firstly revealed as soon as you watch the movie. So I thought that was pretty unique that somebody was actually, you know, trying to collect them and make them their treasures, and you know, show like their own method of collecting Pokemon without actual Pokeballs and going about hunting them. So that was a pretty dope uniqueness that they added to Pokemon, because he never once used a Pokeball. He used like these electric square things which trapped them in cages and stuff like that. So I thought that was a completely different world to me. I'm thinking to myself like, okay, so Ash goes around catching them with Pokeballs and you just sending out electrical ride thing of my bobbers. But still, this man had complete strong ambitions. His whole entire goal was to capture those three to gain one ultimate prize. So now after this storm basically happens, Ash ends up on this mysterious island. This island happens to be none other than Shamuti Island. Shamuti Island is pretty much the center of the Orange Islands. This is where everything related to Orange Islands takes place. This is almost like it's the origin spot of the Orange Islands. Almost like it was like, you know, the middle of Unova, like the Etrolink, you know how that was like in the middle of Unova and nobody could really get there. But this is where all that's at. They're in Shamuti Island. It's pretty much the center. You know, it's the sacred spot. I said sacred. But the sacred spot for this entire, you know, region. This is like their go-to place. So basically, when Ash and them basically land on the island, they run into natives, pretty much people that live there. You know, they want to express their culture and show, you know, basically what their tributes and stuff are with their culture. So basically, they introduce Ash to this prophecy. The prophecy is the Shamuti prophecy, basically where Chosen One, aka Ash Ketchum, or just Ash if you will call him that for short, you know, Ash basically has to collect these three spears, one of ice, one of lightning, and one of fire. And basically, once he collects the three spears, he brings them back to this altar on Shamuti Island, and Shamuti Shrine. And basically, you know, after he puts them there, the girl Melody, basically comes and plays her flute, and you know, the song ends. So Ash thinking this maybe is just like some small, you know, chosen type stuff. You know, maybe it's just like a little festival trial that people do. But he goes out, he sets out on the journey relatively early. You know, Misty tells him, you do whatever you want, I don't care. Tracy's like, okay, you know, you know, Ash, maybe this is a bad idea. So he pretty much goes out, head off. Once he heads off, a big terrible storm starts brewing. The main reason this storm started brewing because the world is completely thrown out of balance. Like prior to that, you see Professor Oak talking to Ash's mom, basically seeing all these Pokemon randomly like coming out of nowhere, like Diglets come out of nowhere, it randomly starts snowing, it randomly starts raining, and basically what he says is, you know, Pokemon can sense when the world is out of balance. Now, the main reason that the world is out of balance is because Lawrence, aka the Master Collector here, is going around collecting Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno. That's pretty much his main objectives throughout this whole movie, is to collect those three to gather something special. Now, basically, while he collects those three, he's throwing off the balance. That's why everybody own their like selective islands. Like there's Fire Island, Lightning Island, Ice Island. It's pretty much so every Pokemon can hold balance in that center. And it's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle, because when you take a Pokemon off that island, or if you remove it from that territory, you know, the balance kind of shifts, and then it causes like a tide in the current in the middle of the ocean, which is a very interesting thing here. Like that starts throwing off the weather, it starts throwing off the world, you know. And now this is where Ash kind of really has to go and actually collect these spears, because now things are being more serious than what they are. So Ash basically starts collecting the spears, and as he collects each and every one of the spears, you know, he starts running into the guy Lawrence more. He starts seeing legendary Pokemon. First he encounters a Zapdos. Moltres is already captured, and now Zapdos is on Moltres' island. So as Ash is collecting the Fire Stone, he actually sees Zapdos claiming it as his territory, as Pikachu tried to explain to him, why are you on Fire Island, what is going on, what is happening. Meowth actually says, you know, Moltres flew the coop. Zapdos says, this is my territory now. This is no longer Moltres' territory. I am now owning Lightning Island and Fire Island. Both of these are mine. So this is completely throwing the world into utter destruction, complete shit when it comes to balance, and it's very, very crazy. So with that being said, young man Lawrence is still going to collect the Pokemon. As he picks up Zapdos, he grabs Ash. He grabs Ash, Misty, and the gang, and pretty much have all of them on his ship, on his vessel, where he collects his Pokemon. And now he's informing him, okay, I'm a collector of this, yada yada yada. Ash is trying to explain to him why this is wrong, why this is not right. You know, you gotta put these Pokemon back, you're throwing off the balance. And he refuses to listen to Ash, meaning he does not care what Ash is saying. He just completely wants to go with his own ambitions and own goals, own self-pleasures. So basically what he does is continue going to collect the Pokemon. Ash basically later escapes the ship, you know, breaking free Zapdos and Moltres and letting those Pokemon all beats in the same spot, wreaking havoc. So this means Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres are all in the same area, fighting each other, going through a terrible clash. Now the Guardian of the Sea awakens. This is where things get hella intense. Young Lugia rises from the sea. Lugia is pretty much the guardian that will quell them, pretty much stop them from the violence if all three of the spears are put together in the flute, which is the one that Melody has. That's ironic, she has to play like a flute, and well, it's not, it's an ocarina, and she has a flute, or I say flute, ocarina, and she has to play the melody, basically stopping them from fighting. That is going to quell them and pretty much give Lugia the power it needs to pretty much settle this. So overall, this anime movie was really, really good. You know, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to completely spoil everything for the people that have not seen it, but legit, I think you guys should see this movie. You know, back then, this was really, really awesome because it was in movie theaters. They gave out Pokemon training cards. You know, the graphics was on point. This is when the animation was at its peak. You know, this is when Pikachu went from fat, bulky Pikachu to actually trying to slim up out of there, because, you know, this was the introduction of new Pokemon. It was actually about to start going into the Johto region after they was finished off in the Orange Islands. That was very unique to a lot of people because, you know, there was the introduction of a new Pokemon. Lugia was like introduced, and everybody was just like, like, I was super hyped. Now, overall, the story, it developed really, really well. Now, there's some scenes where I felt like, you know, they made Lawrence seem like a complete bad guy, where he wasn't really completely a bad guy. He just wanted just to collect and, you know, grab a certain Pokemon and have them as his own. But I didn't think he knew what he was getting himself into when he was disturbing the balance and taking these Pokemon out of their respective territories. And now that he knows, you know, it's kind of like, okay, time to start my collection over. But still, overall, this movie had a lot of action. I thought it was really, really hype. Team Rocket actually had some good moments in there when they actually, you know, tried to save Ash so they could stop the world from actually going into oblivion, because that's what was happening when the current was completely out of balance. It was gonna later destroy the world. I'm pretty sure it was gonna have lightning storms. It's gonna start flooding. It's gonna be like 2012, the movie up in that bitch, and I was just like, whoa. So if you guys really, really need to check out this movie, it's a really good movie. Check out the movie 2000. Animation was on point, legit. The story was very well. Honestly, I love the music for this because it's like a classic theme music for Pokemon, and it has like this new vibe because it's like was a modern movie, but it was like still the old Pokemon style, and you know the battle music was just really hype. In some moments you think things would just like completely just lash out. So overall, you know, I give this movie like a 9 out of 10 because of nostalgia. But like I would say nowadays the times and the animations and how it's changed so much, I would say it's probably like an 8 because like versus now and then. Animation is on 2 completely different levels, but for its time, that movie did extremely well. If you guys have not already, I highly recommend you guys check it out. And with that being said, this has been Shino. Well, go peace in the Middle East. Don't forget to bring your guns because I will blow your shit up. Let me know what you thought about the movie, and don't forget to answer the question today. If you guys are proud members of the Shino Swarm over here, repping, pretty much coming out to support PokéTV, go ahead and let them know in the comment section below, and subscribe to Lumiose because basically we have great Pokemon content and we are 100k in and like we're getting it on. So with that being said, I'm gonna slide out. Have a great day, guys. Later.